Okay, so we are going to be learning here how to take a 3D design. In this case, we have a handrail turn, and I made an onshape. We're going to export this, import it to vcarve, and make a two-sided 3D vcarve file to cut this out of a piece of wood. So first I'll right-click on part 1. I'll export this, and I will call it handrail. Make sure the units are inch and the format is STL. It's going to download here into my downloads. You need to know where that is. It thinks it's a MakerBot print file, but yours may show up differently. So now I'm going to head over to vcarve, and I'm going to start a new file. So the most important thing, or one important thing, is to know when you start how big your piece is going to be. I have measured this out, and I figured out that I need a 6 by 6 by 2 inch chunk of wood, and that goes in here. I've chosen double-sided. My units are in inches. I'm going to Z0 to the material surface. My XY datum position is the lower left, and I'm not using an offset. I choose my flip direction. This doesn't matter as long as you remember what it is. So here's my basic blank. I need to go to my modeling tab and import my model. So I'm going to go to downloads, where I find my handrail, which I just downloaded, and I'll open that. Now I have to organize this to be in the box correctly. So what I'm going to do here is choose one axis at a time to rotate. So I clicked on the X, so I'm looking at it at the X, and then I'll rotate the X right here. So now I can rotate that to fit almost. All right, now I'm going to go to the Y, I'll rotate that here, go back to the X, back to the X, rotate that again. I'm trying to get it perfectly flat. Looks like it's good. So now I'll go back to interactive rotation as of the view. The XYZ ratio is locked, and I can center the model with this button right in the middle. And if I wanted, I could make this a little bit taller, but I don't need to. It's because it fits. The Z0 position is automatic right in the center, and it's creating both sides, which is what we want for this. I'm not sure what overcut distance is, so we'll skip that for now. So it's got to generate it. All right, so here it is. Here's the object. There's the top, and there's the bottom. Now I'm going to have to head over to my toolpaths and start creating toolpaths to cut this thing out. So in the 2D view, you can see grayscale shows how deep the thing is cutting. Well, actually, you know what? I have to head back because when I do my toolpath, I'm going to need a vector around it. So I'll choose a vector around that. So now there's a little line that goes around it, which is important, you'll see right now. First, I'm going to do a 3D roughing toolpath. And it wants me to set my material setup first. The thickness is 2, XY is bottom left, material surface, gap above the model, there's a little gap below the model, and that's it. Everything's okay. All right, so I'm going to do it around the selected vector. So this is my vector, the maximum cut. I'm going to have an offset of 0.25 inches because I have a 1/4 inch ball nose upcut wood for the type of bit. So it needs a 1/4 inch on the outside of that. This roughing toolpath leaves 0.2 inches, and everything else can stay the same. We'll call this top rough. So I can preview this, and it's kind of rough, and that's okay. I actually would probably prefer it to be even rougher because the test would be a little quicker. If I check the time, it's 20 minutes. It's a long time. So let me make this faster. I'll double click on it and I'm going to edit this. Yeah. Just clicking the edit, not the select, the edit. And I'm going to change here the step over 60%. And I'll calculate that. And what that does is the bit is not as close together for every pass. It's going to look rougher, but the time cuts in half. So now if I reset the preview and I preview the toolpath, it doesn't look as clean, but that's okay because this is just a roughing toolpath. Then I'm going to add a finishing toolpath. Again, selected vector, that one, boundary offset 0.25. I'm going to edit my 1/4 inch ball nose upcut to the step over to be 30. And I'll call this finish top. And I'll calculate that. And I can preview all toolpaths. So first it's going to rough cut. And then it's going to finish cut. And if I wanted a finer, like cleaner cut, I could decrease the step over. However, that's 10, that's 5. I could do that. So if I go back to finish, I edit this, and so instead of 30, I do say 20. It's okay. Calculate. I could preview the selected toolpath. It's going to end up a little bit cleaner, which is good. I like that. See what I did to my time. 8 minutes, I can still handle that. All right, so that's a 10-minute and an 8-minute pass. So we've done the top. Now we have to do the bottom. So we'll go back to our 2D view and we'll flip it over. Remember, it flips left to right. That was something I chose in the beginning. This is also like orange around the edges. That shows you're working on the bottom. I need to put a vector around it. So let's go back to my drawing tab. Click on this. Surround it with a vector. Head back over here. Roughing toolpath. Selected vector. Offset 0.25. So this is the bottom roughing. See what our step over is. That's great. Calculate that. Preview the toolpath. Okay, that looks good. And then we would add a finishing toolpath. Again, our selected vector is already selected. And finish the top. And we would preview the selected toolpath. So we already have that preview of the other toolpath. And that looks good. Now I'm actually not sure. I wonder what raster offset would do. Let's see what happens. Calculate that. I'm going to reset the preview. I'm going to preview all toolpaths. I don't know if that's any faster. Check in the clock time. It might be 6 minutes rather than probably 8. Let's flip over to the other side, top, and switch that over to an offset. Calculate that. Look at the time, it was 8:40. So yeah, that dropped it down to 6.5 minutes. So that was definitely a good strategy. Let's do that to the roughing. Oh, it doesn't like in the roughing. It's either Z level or 3D raster. Let's see what 3D raster does. to our time. Oh, that was really fast. What is it doing? Oh, yeah, I don't know if it's taking off enough material there. I would only be able to find out by trying it. I would say for you guys, keep it with the 3D raster because it seems safer. The danger would be if there's too much material left on, you'll damage the bit or the machine. All right, so it's like if we do a reset the preview all sides, it's going to first do the top. And then the bottom. So now we have something top and bottom. Now there's a couple of problems. One is there's still like a little tiny bit of material that's mostly cut through. You can see these holes in it, like right there, right along that edge. But not all the way cut through, so it's messy. Plus there's no tabs to hold it in place. So we're going to have to add those. Now we're going to have to do that by going back here to our drawing board. And we're going to have to go to clip art. And we're going to add some 3D tabs. Honestly, there's like a billion of them. I'm not really sure what the difference is other than the shape. And like, I don't know why you'd use different shapes or sizes shapes. You need to use a bigger one for like a wider one, right? So a 0.75 for a thicker thing and 0.25 for a thinner thing. I'm going to go with a rectangle here, like a big fat tab. And I'm going to rotate it so it's right there, like that. And oh, that one's, I don't like that one. It's too thick. I want it to go down more. Okay, so I have that tab, and we'll put another one down here. Now, these tabs are pretty big, and that's because the ends of the handrail are going to get cut off anyway. Now I need to change this. I need to right-click, combine mode, change to merge. That way it'll merge the two of them. And then when I head back over here, I can recalculate these toolpaths, the calculator button, and then theoretically, if I preview, I should see my tab. Holding it in, but it didn't really show up. So let's figure out what went wrong in my modeling tab. So I'll go back here, go into my 2D view. I'll get rid of tab 1 and tab 2. I feel like really we're kind of invisible, so I don't know what was going on with that. Maybe a circular tab is better because I tell what it's doing. So let me rotate that around like that. I can make it a little bit shorter. Doesn't have to be so giant and hang off. Put another one in over here. I feel like this is going to work better because I can see it. Okay, so then I'll head back to my modeling tab, and these should be merged together. So now I'll close that, and I will recalculate these toolpaths. And I can go back to my preview, reset the preview, and preview this toolpaths. Is this working? I can't quite tell yet. Yeah, it looks like it kind of is. Those aren't very big tabs. They need to be a little bit bigger. So I can do that back here. No, I can do that in my modeling tab. Okay, double click on the little image. It's merge. I don't want it an eighth of an inch height, tall. I maybe want it probably 0.5. And then same here. Change that one to 0.5. All right, I'll head back over there. Reset the preview. Recalculate the tool paths. Preview. Okay, so now, yeah, you can see those big fat tool paths. So now when I preview this, I'm going to have this big fat thing that's holding it in place. And that's good. All right. So now I have to do the same thing to the bottom. So if I flip it over, back to my modeling tab, I'm going to have to go add some 3D tabs. I'm going to add that same tab here. And I'm going to add that same tab over here. It got weird and squished, but oh well, I don't think it matters a lot. Again, I want them in the same place, top and bottom, but if they're exactly the same, I don't think it matters that much. So I'm just kind of putting them in the middle. Heading back to modeling, make sure everything's set. So the handrail has to be in the same thing as the tabs. Double click, change it to merge. Double click here, change it to 0.5. Double click here, change that to 0.5. I think the problem with that rectangular tab was just that I had not changed the thickness. So now we head over here. We should have to recalculate these toolpaths to take into account these tabs I added. All right, now I'm going to preview all my toolpaths, preview all my sides. Let's see what happens. All right, bottom looks like it's cutting the tabs. And here's my finish cut. And then the top. All right, so now I've got tabs on the top and bottom. I'm getting closer to what I want. I just need one more profile to cut out this chunk. So let's cut out like around the edges. So let's head back here. We'll close this. I will put the profile on the top view. So I'll have to add a profile toolpath. It's going to go around here. 1/4 inch ball nose upcut. That's fine because I don't actually need to switch the tool out then. It's not going to be doing much. I don't need to ramp the plunge moves because it's barely cutting through anything. I do need tabs. The tabs need to be the thickness of the wood and the same length as the thickness of these 3D pieces. So these are 3D tabs are 3/4 of an inch, and the wood is 2 inches tall. So I could make that 0.75 by 2. I'm going to edit them. I'm going to put one in the middle of each 3D tab. And then I'm going to calculate. I should actually name this profile top. So I know which side the profile is on. And then I'm going to preview all sides. All right. It didn't really show it cutting because it was, I guess, too hard, too much to figure out. All right, there we go. So now we got this thing, this 3D thing, cut out, profile cut. Now there's one last step, and the problem is um, when we begin, we're cutting one side, and then we have to flip it over and cut the other side. So how do we line it up perfectly? Well, I'm going to do this on the bottom. So I'm going to choose to start at the bottom, meaning I'm going to do the bottom roughing cut. Did I mess that up? Yeah, this is the finished bottom. So I'm going to do the bottom rough, the bottom finish, and then I have to cut some location holes. So a location hole is just a punch right through the material all the way into the base material, like the spoil board, and it's going to be a way for us to line this up. So now I'm going to use my same bit. It's a 1/4-inch ball nose, and I'm going to go back to my drawing tab. I'm going to make, in the regular drawing tab, I'm going to put in 2 circles. So it's snapped to 3, so put it right on that center line because we're going to flip this thing over left to right. And we're going to have to line these up perfectly. So that's going to be Y is 3, I'm going to put X at 1. And then I'm going to put another one here, Y at 3, X at 5. Because 6 minus 1 is 5. So that's 1 inch in from here, and that's 1 inch in from here. I'm not sure if that'll really work out simply because of how close it is, but we will find out. So I'll close that, head over here, and I'm going to do a drilling tool path of these 2 circles. I'm going to use my 1/4-inch ball nose upcut and choose OK. And it's going to actually go super deep. So if this is a 2-inch piece, I'm going to have to go in 2.2. I want it to go all the way through the wood and into the spoil board and make a hole that I'm going to use to line up my item later on. And it's going to be a 0.2-inch hole. And I think I might use peck drilling just because otherwise I'm afraid it won't get the chips out. I'll calculate. It says, do you really want to go all the way through? And I'm like, yeah, man. I'm just going to punch some holes. Now I'm going to reset the preview and preview all sides. So this is the bottom first. Does that. Does my bottom finish. Then it's going to drill 2 holes. And it's going to flip over. I don't know if those holes went all the way through. Let's see. Find out when this finishes. Okay, so starting here, it cut the bottom and then it punched 2 holes, which hopefully went all the way through the material. Yep, they did. And into the spoil board, and then we flipped it over and it did the rough, did the finish, did the profile. The next step is going to be saving it to your USB, which I will do with you. You will first you'll save these tool paths in order. So you'd first do the bottom rough, then you do the bottom finish, then you do the drill. And you could combine them all, flip it over, and then you could combine all the ones from the top since it's the same bit. But if the times are really long, you might not want to simply because you might not have time in class. Just to check, what do we got here? On the bottom, we have a total of 20 minutes, 21 minutes. And on the top, we have a total of 21 minutes. Oh, no, wait. Top, we have a total of 42 minutes. Oh, because, no. So overall, 42 minutes. So I could probably cut some time down on the roughing out by playing with the raster Z and then like